Welcome to Tell Me More, the All Steel podcast where design meets innovation and we explore the limitless potential of workspaces. In this exclusive series, we're peeling back the layers of workplace design. From the psychology of colors to the future of hybrid work, join us as we open doors to conversations with industry leaders, architects, and designers who redefine the modern workplace. This is Tell Me More, brought to you by All Steel, because when it comes to designing the future, there's always more to discover. Well, welcome to the Doing More series. My name is Chelsea Compton. I'm a member of the All Steel team, and joining me today is Suzanne Drake. Suzanne, thank you for joining us. To kick us off, would you briefly introduce yourself to those tuning in, where are you from, and share a little bit about your career and what it is that you do?
Sure. As you mentioned, I'm Suzanne Drake. I'm currently senior designer slash project manager slash lead sustainability person at Revel Architecture and Design here in San Francisco. I've been with Revel for just over 4 years. I started right before the pandemic, which was a super exciting time to start. And I was really excited to come to Revel because of their desire to have me use my sustainability background and build that knowledge base for them here. It's about a 50-person firm. And previously, my career has been always working for architects in the interiors group. So Revel is architecture and design, but we don't do ground up buildings. We really focus just on interiors. So it's kind of getting back to my roots. But prior to that, I was with Perkins and Will, really large national global design firm. And I really was able to hone my sustainability cred, so to speak, through them, which was a great, great opportunity. We, I mean, through my time with them, I actually started with them back in Atlanta before I even moved to San Francisco. So I've been an interior designer for almost 30 years. And I started off in hospitality, but quickly moved to commercial interiors. And Perkins and Will was like my third job in my career. And their location in Atlanta also had a big healthcare practice. And so I kind of got moved into healthcare and found I really enjoyed doing that work. I know a lot of people find it overly constricting, but I actually think a lot of the rules and the guidelines and the regulations and the things, the technicality of healthcare is really suited to my kind of, I like those rules. Like that's helpful for me. And that was where I really first got into sustainability, because that was one of the first things I had ever heard was about how vinyl PVC products in the environment of a patient affects the patient. And the healthcare clients were kind of the first ones, certainly in my experience, that understood the implications of that and really took it seriously. The whole idea of material health. And that really was something I could sink my teeth into. Again, kind of my little inner science nerd, like loved learning about all of that stuff and bringing it to my own design practice. So I was with them for many years in Atlanta, and then my husband and I decided that we wanted a change of scenery, and we moved out to San Francisco, and I was able to continue my healthcare career with another firm here. But eventually I came back to Perkins and Will, but in San
How that
Francisco.
happened.
I know. Well, yeah, it's a great firm. But the San Francisco office did not have that healthcare focus. So again, it was back to commercial interiors, which was fine because I have that background and I enjoy that as well. So Um, and also, they actually uh, did have a strong practice, or still do, I presume, in labs and other kinds of highly technical spaces. And I kind of feel like once you've done healthcare, you can do any technical space, because it's really just um, having just being a little bit knowledgeable in all the aspects, which, I really enjoy that part too. I don't have to like know all about MEP, but I have to really understand how it intersects with the space. And so anyway, long story. Um, Worked with them, continued doing a lot of healthy materials work, and um, really working on how do you bring that knowledge to so many other designers. I mean, just within the firm, how do we get everybody on the same page and understanding how important it is, and what are the resources, what are the tools, that we need that we don't have, how do we educate these people. And so I feel like I got a lot of exposure to that, and I was very excited to be able to bring it to a smaller firm that does more regional work, because I felt like, big firms like P&W and of their kind have those resources to be able to do that. But a lot of the mid-size and smaller firms just don't have that those kind of deep pockets, I should say, to be able to invest in their own people and be able to bring that knowledge to their projects. And I kind of feel like to move sustainability where we need to fast, everybody needs to be doing everything that they can to make our projects have smaller carbon footprints, be healthier for people, all of those things. So yeah, that's definitely got me excited about coming here and doing that.
I could tell. So, what inspired you to join this industry, or what motivated you to pursue this line of work?
um, when I was in high school, I really wanted to take a shop class, and apparently shop was really popular. I had no idea when I signed up for it. It was so popular that I never got in because there was always a wait list.
Oh, okay.
And so my backup class that I did get into was architectural drafting. Actually, it wasn't even architectural, it was just drafting. I actually didn't even really know what that meant until I got there. And it was taught by an retired Army Corps engineer. So the class was all about like learning how to use the tools, and we had the T-bar, on the
Mhm.
sliders, and you had your triangles and your mechanical pencils, and I loved all those tools, and the idea that I was like drawing, but they were very precise and specific drawings, and like it wasn't so much about your talent as an artist, but you were creating these works of art in my mind, because I thought the finished pieces, even though they were just drawings of like a screw or mechanical pieces, it just felt like art to me. And the other aspect of that was I felt like I was a creative person, but I didn't know how you made a living at that. There were no artists in my field. Like my parents didn't hobnob with artists or anything. So the only thing I knew about artistic people was the starving artist. I'm like, I can't do that. And I didn't have that much, confidence in my actual ability. So I kind of saw drafting and its connection to architecture as a way to be creative and artistic and still get a regular paycheck.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when I decided that that would be my major when I went to college, that I would major in architecture. So I went to college and went into the major and went into the program. And I was on my way to at University of Florida. The way it was set up is that you take up all the disciplines under the umbrella of architecture, which actually included landscape, urban design, interiors, and building construction. They Everybody took the same first three design studios. So they were very sequentially like each semester design studio. So we all kind of had the same language that we would then go off to whatever your imagined um, specialty would be. And so that third semester, there was a lot of pressure because you knew that the next semester, the fourth semester, is when you would take your portfolio of work and be judged on it to see if you could get into the College of Architecture. It was very,
I
very,
see. Yeah.
there were only so many spots,
Competitive. Yeah.
very competitive. And so I was like, ooh, I'm not sure if I'm going to get in on the first try. And it was like really the first time I'd ever had to like really work in school. And it was something I wanted really badly to get in. And so I
Nervous.
didn't want
Yeah.
to fail. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna kind of work my schedule around this. And um, basically, since the semesters were so sequential, I had to take a year off of studio classes. I'm like, I'll get all my other classes out of the way so that when I take this studio, I'll have like nothing else going on. I can like really focus and produce amazing work and get in on my first try. So in my gap year, so to speak, I was still going to school. I was, keeping in touch with my friends who had gone on and made it in and everything, and they were doing these bizarre studio classes like designing design a society that lives on this island, and they were doing all these weird philosophical things. I'm like, okay. And then I had one friend that went into interiors, and I visited her in her studio at one point, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we're doing this museum," and I had to look up all the codes and like like what she was doing was the stuff that I thought architects did. And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about designing a society, but I can do this. So that's how I ended up in interiors versus architecture.
That's so funny. So you really
Yeah.
just love to have a creative outlet and create spaces, things like that were really what interested you.
Yeah, and that's very practical. And oh, it's, created that set of rules that I find interesting to like help me. I
You
mean,
like
I just,
having some sort of boundary to work within.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes sense.
ultimately, yeah, I think after over time, I've realized I might be a better editor, like, than actual like visionary person. So we could debate that, but we'll see.
I'm sure you're fabulous. Um, okay, so shifting back to your work, can you share a project that you are particularly proud of or share what makes it stand out to you?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. There's I've done a lot of, in almost 30 years, um, I've done a lot of projects, and there's I probably in the healthcare realm, I can feel a lot of pride for what we created because there's a lot of feedback from the users. So like, we'd finish a project and the nurses would, my last visit there, the nurses would be like, "This is so amazing. Thank you so much for doing this work." And in commercial interiors, you don't necessarily get that. Things move a lot faster. It's a little bit more, I don't want to say commodity, but some of it is, spec suites and things like that. But I have maintained a connection with the research aspect of things, and the Northwestern project I mentioned earlier is something that I think is really interesting. So it's not a built space, but the work that Dr. Hartman is doing and that fact that I can bring value to that work.
Will you
And
elaborate on this project a little bit for those tuning in that
yeah,
might know what you're talking about?
yeah. So Erica Hartman is a professor and researcher at Northwestern University, and I met her. I don't even remember where I met her, either at some green building conference or uh, clearly that's where I met her. And we have just always stayed in touch. And she actually has she has been she has a grant to do this particular piece of work that she's on right now, which is she's always focused on microbes. That microbiology is her thing, and the current work of antimicrobial treatments for commercial textiles is a grant that she submitted for multiple times, and the last time that actually got accepted included this piece about, using some of that funding to educate professionals that would be using that information. So, not just keeping it in academia and writing a paper and it goes on the shelf somewhere, but really engaging whichever set of professionals is most suited to hearing that information. And so I'm a conduit for her to reach design professionals who are specifying fabrics for commercial projects. And I think that the work that she's doing is important, but even more so is that act of creating those networks and bringing information to the people that need to hear it, and making those connections, which I think
Yeah,
is really important.
I
Like
think
this
it's
is one topic. Yeah, I mean, it's just one topic of hundreds that we could do, but
Mhm.
it's the one that we're working on. So I
Very
think
cool.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah. And when you're working on these types of projects, I mean, can you share what it is that inspires your design aesthetic, if you will? Like, are there specific themes or cultures or movements that influence your work?
Yeah, honestly, it's always the client. I try really hard to not have an aesthetic. Um, I think I always want to start with the client. What are they trying to achieve? What's their brand? How can we bring that, to three-dimensional life without it being cheesy, like a
Yeah.
ride or something like that. Um, yeah, so I think definitely I find the most challenging projects, like in a bad way, challenging in a bad way, are the clients that kind of don't really have
Know
a
what they want.
clear vision
Yeah.
of who they are,
Yeah.
because
So,
then we're like, we have to make something up.
right. So, you're very customer or client centric, if you will.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, you've mentioned this, I think, a couple of times since we've been talking. How long have you been in the industry again?
Oh, 28 years.
Okay, so you've had a pretty extensive and successful career. So when we're thinking about other individuals that are coming up in the industry, are there any lessons that you wish someone would have shared with you earlier?
Oh, yeah. There's a few, but I think the one that I see a lot of younger designers struggling with
Hmm.
um, is about like boundaries. I mean, especially when I first started, it was kind of expected that you had to put your time in. That meant your late nights, kind of an extension of how we worked in school.
Hmm.
And, um, miss not just working late, but changing your plans in order to meet a deadline. Like I've seen people, leave vacation early or postpone something because of deadlines like that. And I have just found over the years, I've never regretted not missing a deadline, but taking myself out. Like 9 times out of 10, the deadline moves. And so, um, kind of trying to plan your life around it. I mean, you want to be reasonable if you know about it far enough in advance. Actually, the habit that I changed is now I make my travel plans in advance, and so everybody knows it's coming up, and the deadlines work around me now.
Yeah.
um, but I think kind of understanding what you need to maintain your own sanity, in terms of like I need to just work this amount of time, and I'm willing to give extra time, but not at the drop of a hat. Not every single time it's necessary. I mean, like, I have to learn to work smarter so that I'm not working late nights and on weekends to meet a deadline. I'm like, if that's what it takes, then somebody did not set the correct deadline. They didn't set
Sure.
correct expectations. So I learned a lot about that in my first couple of
What have
jobs
you
working. Yeah,
what have
go
you
ahead.
found, to that point, what have you found that's helped you to set those boundaries?
Oh, yeah. You just have to be willing to say no. And
Mm-hmm.
I think especially when you're younger in your career, you don't necessarily have the confidence or think that you're allowed to say that. Um,
And what you're saying is that you are, and there's a way that you can go about,
yeah,
proving your value and being professional about your boundaries.
yeah. I mean, I think exactly. I was going to say, again, like with setting expectations with deadlines. So, as a my younger self, if I had better words at that time, if a project manager, whoever, said to me, "Okay, we are going to have this," I told the client we'd have this plan done by Friday, and it's Wednesday, or whatever. I might say, "Okay, so we have to do this, and have them review it, and then make any revisions, and we're going to do that by Friday." Like, show them that
Proceed
how that's
loud.
not going
Yep.
to
But
work.
sometimes it does take saying something out loud for
Yeah.
it to click and the light bulb go off and people be like, "Oh yeah, that kind of sounds like a lot to accomplish in that amount of time."
Yeah, and I know, when you're young, you don't know what that process is. So it takes some time to learn it in order to turn that around and be have that be a useful tool. But, if you don't know, then you can just be like, okay, so what are the steps? Like, well, how are we going to meet that deadline? You senior person, I need you to tell me. And then
Right.
they are saying it out loud, and then they might be realizing they need to bring somebody else on to help, or, you know,
Perfect.
whatever
Yeah.
it takes.
No,
So.
that's a great point. I think that's great advice for especially younger people coming up in the industry. Okay, shifting gears entirely, Suzanne, how do you enjoy spending your time outside of work?
Um, well, I love to travel whenever I can, and I really enjoy doing photography, and I find I really enjoy doing travel photography. Um, Also do a lot of reading just for fun, um, and of course streaming various shows and whatnot. But I do try to limit my television time because I kind of like if I don't just do it during these hours and that's it,
You'll go
then
down the rabbit hole.
yes, exactly. So
It's just too good to stop. I totally understand.
exactly.
Um, okay, I want to talk about community aspect a little bit.
Mhm.
So when you think about architecture and design in your community, what type of opportunities inspire you? Is there anything that you have contributed to or maybe hope to contribute to in the future?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on. One of the things that I'm getting more excited about, if you've been on the sustainability path for as long as I have been, it's easy to become very cynical and dismayed, which I've certainly have been. Um, but what I think is really interesting and exciting coming up is the whole idea of circularity in design, and how can we design our spaces to be um, deconstructed, and how circularity and deconstruction means we have to have a very localized supply chain, like for all of those things to work. And be, I think it's going to be really, um, really like, I don't know the word that I want, like changing. I mean, it's like, it's a massive shift in thinking.
Sure.
And I mean, I don't think it's going to happen in a way that's going to be like, that was a massive shift, in those few years. I think it's going to happen over time. But
Yeah.
in the future, we're going to look back and be like, wow, we did things so, like, there will be a clear difference in how we used to do things and how we do.
Yeah, and I think like there, even when you think about like COVID era, like before how we were doing things, where we were working, how we were working is so
Mhm.
different now, post COVID too. So I think it's just interesting to see how fast some of those shifts can come about.
It could happen more quickly. I hope that it does, but my fear is that if it happens fast, it's going to be because of some disaster
Yeah.
that we'd rather avoid. Like
Yeah.
COVID was kind of a disaster.
It kind of was. I think that we were able to take a lot of good things from it, but I
Hmm.
think along with that there was, a lot of cons too. So it
Yeah.
was just really a
So
transition period.
hopefully the shift to circularity doesn't require the
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 demise
disaster aspect.
of our planet. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've talked about your career. We've now talked about your community aspects and what inspires you. Is there anything else that you can think of that you might want to share? Maybe a way that our listeners can follow or connect with you, or any other exciting projects that you're working on?
Yeah. I think for me personally, one of the things I've done really recently is, I mean, I've been so focused on architectural design, sustainability. Um, and what I know about sustainability, I always go back to like this really early Venn diagram that I saw about, sustainability is the intersection of people, the planet, and profits. Like it has to make a business sense
Okay.
for a project to, other anyway. So there's this social aspect, and I've been hearing more and more about social justice and like the just label and B Corps and things like this. Um, and it just made me realize that like I don't really know that much about that aspect of sustainability. And so last year I kind of it was happenstance. I was just walking down the street and there were a bunch of tables of different groups doing various things, and I happened to stop in front of the National Equal Justice Association,
Okay.
and they were talking about how they have several campaigns going. One's for like prison reform, but they are also talking about the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And so the fact that they were talking about both of those things, I don't even remember how they connected it, while I was standing there at the table, but I'm like, these people are kind of into some interesting things. So I've ended up volunteering with them. I've been going like once a week. They have a newsletter. So
Cool.
I can use my graphics they use InDesign, and I can do that, and I've done some writing for them, which I really enjoy doing. Um, so kind of connecting to a different aspect
Hmm.
of sustainable thinking and applying, kind of they're just coming at it from such a different angle that
Yeah.
it kind of is reinvigorating.
That's
So I've been
cool.
involved with that. And then I mean through IIDA, I've been working on in the Northern California chapter has a climate action committee. So I've been involved with that. And yeah, and then and recently I just joined Coronet, which is a real estate focused group, um, a national kind of association, and I'm on the sustainability committee for them. So I'm hoping that those those things are keeping me connected, to the broader design community as well as my little side project, which is more about myself learning more about other aspects of sustainability. So
That's all very exciting stuff. I look forward to kind of keeping up with all the projects that you have going on. And again, I just want to thank you, Suzanne. I really appreciate you spending time with me today and sharing your insights for our Doing More series. This was a lot of fun.
yeah, me too. It was a lot of fun. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you. Take care.
And that brings us to the end of another fascinating episode of Tell Me More. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of design and innovation. If you're hungry for more insights and stories, make sure to subscribe to Tell Me More on your preferred podcast platform. As we sign off, remember that the conversation doesn't end here. Connect with us on social media at AllSteel and share your thoughts, questions, or even your favorite moments from the podcast. We love hearing from our engaged and curious audience. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll continue exploring the Design to Do More philosophy. Until then, thanks for listening.